All right, everyone, let's begin. Welcome to ProLine Office Hours. My name is Emily Traxler. I'm our VP of Customer Success. If I haven't met you yet, please reach out and say hello. Would love to hear from you all. And today we are going to talk a little bit about stages and statuses in ProLine, why they're important, what they impact, and most importantly, how to configure them. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you. So right now I'm looking at where we would edit our stages and the statuses related to those stages. I went to first our hamburger menu here on the top left, company settings, and then I chose stages right here in the middle. We have various pipelines. We have our sales pipeline, insurance, production, billing, and then we can also create new pipelines. And we can edit any one of these. These solid bars at the top are going to be what we call pipelines, if you hear us talking about that. Within each pipeline, you're going to manage various stages of that pipeline. So in sales, and this is out of the box in ProLine, by the way, I have not updated this demo account, but you can make changes to this. So I have under my sales, I have new leads, appointment scheduled, creating a quote, quote sent, deposit invoiced, approved one, lost, and disqualified. Each of these stages represents a different part of the process during the sales process that the customer could go through. So they could be a new lead where they came in through the website, we knocked on their door, we, whatever the situation is that we got them into the system, but we have not scheduled an appointment or created a quote for them just yet. And so the stages are really more granular part of the pipelines. Once someone makes it through the sales pipeline and they're approved one, for example, they would head over to being an open job. So they would go into your production pipeline, for example. And then once the job is done, they would move down into your billing pipeline. So we're trying to just keep things organized for you and in the way that you would want your production manager, office manager, or sales team to be viewing where each project is in the system. So we have pipelines and then stages to show you more granular steps. Each stage has a status. The statuses are a critical component for reporting in ProLine. And so I do want to talk about those really quick. And if I choose this edit button on the far right side, I'm going to see all of the different, I can change this. I can change my stage or my status. So the statuses that we have are going to be lead, which again is any person who's not yet a customer. They're in your pipeline because as a lead, because they have expressed interest in your services or you're calling them to see if you can get them on the schedule. The next stage is going to be, or the next status, I apologize, is inspection. So the inspection status is going to be when you go out and you actually perform an inspection. These are pretty standard. We're not going to edit what this is called. So this status inspection is telling me that I have converted this lead to either appointment scheduled or creating quote, just the way that I have this one set up here. And so in my report, I can see how many of these leads or how many people are in my inspection stage. So they haven't yet had a quote sent to them, for example, but they're not a lead anymore. The next one is going to be open. So an open status is going to show me when I have sent a quote to someone and it is not yet won. I haven't won this project yet and win this job. So it's going to remain in the open stage here until we have won the job. When we win the job, we're going to go over to deposit invoiced or approved one. These are, again, standard. You can update these however you see fit based on what your process is currently. and your status, you just want to know when it's won. So if I'm looking at my sales report, for example, I want to see how many leads were converted to won jobs, right? The only way that I'm going to know that is because they sent a deposit or they're in this approved won stage. So they have to be in this won status for that report to show me what I need on that sales dashboard. Loss is the unfortunate case if they choose to go a different direction, and then disqualified is optional. This is just basically they don't need your service for some reason, so we just move them over to the disqualified stage or status, stage and status actually there. You do want for your statuses to go in order. It would mess up your reports if your statuses were out of order. We always want them to flow in this direction from left to right, from lead, inspection, open, lost, won, completed, closed. We don't want for won to go before open, for example, or for inspection to go before lead. This wouldn't make sense, of course, but we do have them shown here in the order that we need them to appear in your process. So you can control the stages of your process, have as many or as little as you like, but the statuses that you assign to each stage need to go in order of this list here: lead, inspection, open, disqualified, lost, won, complete, closed. The only situation where this might go out of order slightly is if you have a stage called maybe lead rehash. We use that internally. This just means that the lead said to us, we're not ready right now, come back in 6 months. So we actually would have a stage here at the end for lead rehash, and that would be the lead status, which is slightly out of order, as you know, but there's a purpose for that. And that way we know what we're going to come back to this lead in 6 months and follow up with them. They're not really lost and they're not won either. The next thing that I want to talk about is the open stage. So when a job enters or when a project enters your insurance pipeline, it's really important to leave them in the open status. You can have the most complex and detailed insurance pipeline and stage list as you would like, but until both the customer has signed a quote and or contingency agreement and the insurance company has approved, this job is not actually won. So you don't want to call this won even if the customer has signed the quote and the contingency agreement, because if the insurance doesn't come through and they don't want to cover the cost of this repair or replacement, and the customer doesn't want to pay for it, the job is not won. So if you called this won, it would inflate your sales reps' closed ratio in your reports and impact other reports based on revenue and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're really careful about what we call open versus lost or won. And our insurance pipeline is going to remain open status until it's either lost or won based on the insurance response. Then we move on to our production pipeline. So this is going to be all of the jobs and projects that are won. They're ready for production. You're ordering materials, you're scheduling the work. I have seen longer and more detailed production pipeline stages. It really just depends on how you run things in your company. I'm going to keep it simple for this demo account here. And then in billing, the job is going to be complete. Showing when things are complete will impact certain financial reports in ProLine. So it is important that you have your statuses set up to show complete only when you are actually in the collection stage of the process. The work is done. And again, just another really good example of why stages and statuses are so important. We do have a closed stage, so paid and closed, and that's when you're going to see, again, certain financial reports that I think are really critical. You can see the time that it took to go from lead to closed. So there's a lot of different things you can look at in ProLine with these stages and statuses set up appropriately. just to touch on it one more time, you can add as many new pipelines as you need based on the different areas of your business. Let me go to my projects and I'll show you everyone is used to seeing it at this stage or this screen, right? So here's my projects dashboard. I have all projects. I have sales pipeline, insurance pipeline, production pipeline, billing pipeline. We just walked through every single one of those in detail, right? And so I have my new leads that are here, appointment scheduled, creating quote sent. And so this is what I mean when I say that we're sort of walking through the process here in this sales pipeline. And once this is approved, I can actually push a project over to my production pipeline. And in my production pipeline, I have other stages with different statuses. So all of the statuses in my production pipeline, again, are going to be 1, and they're not closed in my demo account until they're over to billing. So I'm going to stop for 1 second and take a look at what the Q&A is saying and see if we have any good questions over here. Let's say I want to do something in ProLine that involves a stage, but does not involve projects that we are trying to do on the roof, trying to get track of documents. So I think my question would be, okay, so it wouldn't involve projects that we are trying to do with their roof, but we have to get track of documents. I almost wonder where does this fall? You just have to think about where does this fall in your process exactly. So even if it doesn't have to do specifically with a job or with a project, you can have a stage here, let's say in production, that is considered a pre-production stage where you're collecting documents and you're sort of getting everything in order. You could have that wherever it would live in your process. If it requires its own pipeline, that could also be appropriate. So it could be its own pipeline up here at the top if there are different stages within this documentation process that you're talking about, or if it lies within a stage, that is also okay. I mean, it could, I don't know exactly what documents to get in order, but it could be, let's say that you want to make sure that you've collected photos and a signature from the client and all of these things in your production before it is considered closed. You want to make sure that that's done, so you can do that in there. We also have what we call tasks. So if you open up any project, I can add tasks with task list, which we have another video on that, but I'm going to go ahead and show you really quick in case you wanted to use this as an option. So I can create manual task or task template. So if this is something that you're doing often, you might want to create a task template that attaches to your projects. And let's just say I have a pre-production checklist, and I'm going to lock this project until this task list is done. So if this document process that you're talking about doesn't require its own stage or status, but maybe it's just something that has to be done within the project, then I would maybe do it as a checklist. And then I now have my task overview. It's given me this little red task icon on the left, as you can see. So I know I have this task to do. It assigned it to me. I can reassign it. And then I have my checklist here at the bottom that has to be completed before I can move this project to the next stage. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me see if there's any more questions. Okay. I don't see any more questions, but I am here if you have any that come up, and so is our team. Reach out to us anytime via chat or email. All right. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it, everyone. Bye now.